Hey everyone, welcome again to the ImmortaliTea podcast. I'm your host Jake here with Josh once again.
Hello.
Today we have a bit of a first. I actually brought a scented tea. Don't expect this too often. Of course, it's a very traditional scented tea. Lapsang Souchang, fairly common on the Western market. The smoked black tea. So maybe a lot of people have had a Lapsang Souchong. Josh, have you?
I have not had a Lapsang Souchong.
Really? Okay. Well, it's fairly popular, at least as far as like real Chinese black teas go. So I'm just going to start off. As always, I like to preheat my vessels. So just swish a little hot water around in the gaiwan, add that to the pitcher, and then I'll rinse the cups out too with the hot water. So anyone who's seen a lapsang before, a mass market lapsang looks kind of like just like kind of the standard tea bag shake that you usually see in grocery store tea. This, of course, is a very, very traditional lapsang.
The leaves are really beautiful, just full.
Big, beautiful black leaves, yeah, for sure. Yeah, and so here, I'm just going to kind of heat the gaiwan and get the scent of the dry leaves. Josh, take a whiff of that.
Wow.
So yeah, it's very smoky, piney,
tobacco-y,
a little bit of sweetness. And so let's just brew the first cup, and then I can get into talking about it. This one I'm doing in a gaiwan. It's a traditional Chinese tea. I'm not gonna give it a rinse. I don't feel that it needs one. Not particularly like a twisted or balled oolong, or an aged tea, anything that would need to be opened or rinsed off. So just about 10 seconds. Let's do that for the first steep. I'm just gonna smell one more time.
The dry leaves, I really have not smelled a tea like that on the podcast.
No, well, again, this one is scented. So there's nothing added to this tea. It is smoked.
So the scenting comes from the smoke.
Yeah, exactly. Like many, here, let's just drink this first cup. So obviously, smoke flavor predominates.
The wood characteristics come out.
I also find that there's a pretty persistent like honey sweetness character.
Yep.
Together, it kind of like suggests like maybe a mesquite or something.
Yeah, the honey does come through.
Mm-hmm.
It's the middle note. It's really nice.
Mm-hmm. So this is really nice, I think, because you can really taste the scenting. The scenting is very pronounced, very very nice, but it doesn't overpower the tea itself. I think I want to say both are sort of on par with each other. Like you still taste like a sweet malt forward black tea alongside the smoky flavors.
Yes, that is very true. That is very true, Jake. This is nice. I should drink more of these styles of tea.
Yeah, and this is good for cooler weather too.
So basically, as we're going into winter, the listeners can kind of stock up when they hear this episode to drink in those snowy or cool fall nights.
Yeah, well, I certainly picked teas for this season. Of course, right now we just went into fall. Still a little warm outside, but cooler days are on the horizon. Nights are definitely cold. I always feel like drinking a nice tea like really like gives me like the inner fortitude, like helps my body adapt to the cold seasonally, like helps the seasonal transition.
I agree with you 100%. In a way, that's why we started this podcast. So everyone could benefit from these deeper qualities of tea that, sometimes people don't realize are actually possible.
Sure. Yeah. So like many teas, this one came about as a bit of a happy accident. Basically, so it's from, let me back up a little, I guess. This tea is from Wuyi in Fujian. So we've had a few Wuyi oolongs on the program so far. Of course, Wuyi is a very famous historic tea region known mostly for its rock oolongs, like the very mineral-forward rock teas, Dahong Pao, Rogui, Shuishan, all those. When Europeans were first importing tea from China, most of the trading would come through Fujian, and so predominantly Wuyi black teas and oolongs were shipped out to Europe. Of course, these being teas that could make it through like long sea voyages. Green teas maybe would not be as fresh by the time they arrived, like many months later, but black teas and oolongs did just fine, which is why the Western world still mostly drinks black tea when they drink tea at all.
So with the Lapsang, what happened in its history that made it become smoked? Was it just it had to travel far distances?
Basically, it was an accident. Some tea farmers left some bags of tea sort of too close to their fire, and they decided to try to sell it anyway. So they sold it to some Dutch merchants who went basically crazy for it, and like came back months later and asked, "Do you have more of the smoky tea?" And so they had to kind of like scramble and start like smoking more of their black tea because that's what the Europeans wanted.
So what are they using to smoke the tea with? Do you think they're using certain types of bark or like certain types of wood?
So it's pine. This one. So there's a lot of Lapsang low grade Lapsang on the market, right? Like there's a lot of low grade tea that's like smoked industrially. It kind of imitates the flavor of this. It'll give you a smoky black tea. This one is smoked in the traditional way. So it's from Wuyi, the Tong Mu Guan Village, which is where a lot of the Lapsangs come from, both smoked and unsmoked. So this was smoked in the traditional manner, which means that it was put into basically a split level room with a pine fire on the first floor and sort of a breathable half second floor. The tea leaves were picked, then they were withered in the smoke room for about 15 to 20 hours. They were then rolled and massaged into like the shapes that we get, these like long twisted leaves, and then oxidized for about 8 more hours to make it into black tea, and then smoked again for another 8 to 12 hours.
You can taste the pine. I mean, just, imagine a fire and then you throw some pine, branches and pine needles on it, and just imagine that smoke. That smoke has a characteristic. And I mean, the smokiness is starting to unfold into something more. It's really beautiful. I mean, wow, I can't believe I have not had this tea or this style of tea before.
And again, there's nothing added to the tea. It's not like it's flavored by anything. It's just picked up the aromatics of the smoke. So it's still pure tea.
I love that they use pine.
Yeah, yeah. It's the super traditional way to do it. And another thing you'll notice drinking this tea too, Gung Fu style, is that the smoke doesn't really leave. Like many scented teas that are artificially scented, if you do multiple infusions like this, you'll get a good hit of the infusion, like maybe the first steep, maybe in the second steep, but then it washes away because it's artificial and because it's added. But this is again a traditional smoking method. The smoke is like really ingrained in the character of the leaves over the course of many hours. Super artisanal process, super traditional. The people who we get this from have been doing this for generations.
Do you get a lot of this kind of tea? Because this seems so artisanal and boutique. It seems like it would be hard to get a really good batch like this one.
Well, we get a good amount of this each year, along with several other black teas from this area, other unsmoked Lapsangs, which I'm sure we'll have on in the near future, as well as Jinjin Mei, Golden Eyebrows, and other famous black tea. And from the same farmers, we get several of our Wuyi oolongs as well.
I'm really impressed. The smokiness is still there, but it's unfolding into this pine, but woodsy, but...
Yeah, this is, I think, the fourth steep, but it's pretty strong still. Pretty rich character, like very, very warming. I'm starting to sweat a little. I don't know about you.
I'm definitely feeling increased blood circulation.
What?
Like, I just feel with the pine smoke, knowing that it's with those pine barks and those pine woods, that resinous smoke, there's so many qualities of the pine tree that are good for, circulation, blood cleansing, longevity. I feel like the Taoist,
I could see that. Yeah.
The Taoist would really approve of this tea.
Yeah. So this was just picked in April of this year. Again, it's from Tong Mu Guan Village, historically like famous location for Wuyi black teas. From the Kaicha cultivar, which is a rock oolong cultivar, used in, I would say, the majority of the Lapsang teas, and not from cultivated bushes either. These are wild bushes, around 80 years of age. So this tea has a lot going for it.
The black tea qualities are really starting to emerge too. Like after we've kind of drunk through the smokier cups of tea, now you're starting to see, what the leaf is tasting like. It's almost like that smoky coating or flavoring was kind of covering that black tea flavor. It was really nice. How do people like drinking these in the cafe?
This one is very popular in the cafe. I think in general, a more flavorful tea is more suited to a Western palate.
It's also funny because in drinking this, you see how someone might drink this and go, I need to reinvent this as a flavored tea. But everything's coming from the process of how the tea was prepared versus some artificial coating or flavoring.
No, this is legitimate tea. I'm always very, very wary of scented and flavored teas in general. There's a few that are traditional that I will drink and enjoy. This among them, notably also jasmine teas, which is another tea where there's nothing added to it. It's just scented with flowers in that case instead of pine smoke. But most flavored teas strike me as being not really like real or like legitimate tea.
I would agree there. I think it passes for tea because of kind of how, product development has gone, but it's not the real tea. And then I think when people taste real tea, they actually, slowly start to wake up to this flavored tea nightmare that they've been living in.
Well, here I am to save you from your nightmare.
This is true, Jake. That's what we're here for.
Don't worry, I'm here.
Don't let your friends drink flavored tea.
Don't let friends drink flavored tea. No, I think more to the point though that oftentimes if you see a flavored tea, what it is it's covering up a lack of quality going into the tea bush. Yeah, teas that are probably monoculture fields, mass produced, machine processed, factory made, low grade. You get covered up by like whatever, like almond or like fruit or some kind of like whatever.
Natural flavoring.
Natural flavoring.
Peach.
Which I don't mean to sit here and shit talk. I don't want to like. I don't mean to. If you enjoy a flavored tea, that's fine. Like, but I would say that for people who I think are listening to this podcast are more interested in the true experience of tea, like the energetic qualities, the health benefits, the complexity of flavor.
And it's
the history, the artisanal tradition.
There's just this other reality, and it's hard to really see. And so we're definitely not poking fun at people who like flavored tea, because I will admit at one time when I was in my teenagers and possibly through my 20s, I didn't know any better. Bengal Spice, Celestial Seasonings.
Bengal Spice.
Like it's got a tiger on the box.
The heart wants what it wants.
Yeah, we don't know any better, and then what happens is you start to buy organic Celestial Seasoning and like other organic type of teas that are made by the same flavored tea companies. And then from there, you get stuck in a weird Chinese, Chinatown, and you just discover green tea because you had this experience. At least that was my case, but we all start with flavored tea, but it's almost like this is the journey back to the source of where tea was really created.
Well, tea in the West, particularly in the US, is like a bit of a wasteland, right? Like it's not well understood, and most of the people who even drink tea, which is a minority of the people to begin with, aren't drinking very good tea, like at least from the standards of quality of the tea bushes and processing standards.
And then even just in some cases, this tea is prepared so finely, the one that we're drinking, it could fool me as if this was a flavored tea. I know that sounds weird, but it's really, the process creates this really beautiful example of what something was. And we are definitely lucky to be able to drink this quality of tea. So
call me a snob. That's fine. Like, but
tea nerd,
yeah. this is what I seek from tea. Like this is my journey and my relationship with this like substance and plant. Like, not everyone's on the same journey, but I just want to like offer this to people who like find themselves on a similar path.
How many steeps are we in?
I was just gonna say we've done a good number of steeps here, and the smoked flavor is still pretty strong, which is again what I want to emphasize. It doesn't really wash off. It's smoked for so long that it's fairly intrinsic to the character of this tea.
I'm definitely gonna have to pick some of this up. How many different kinds of lapsangs do you have on the store?
Oh God, we actually have a few. We'll do in a later episode one of the unsmoked ones, which are really interesting too. But I think we have this one. We have one that we're calling fruity lapsang. One that we're calling wild, I believe, and maybe I don't remember if we got floral this year, but we had floral in a past year. Those ones are all just still from the same area, just different like bushes. So kind of terroir and cultivar differences. Fairly similar, but like interesting differences. And also Jinjin golden eyebrows, if anyone's ever had that. Certainly one of the more well-known Chinese black teas.
Jinjin Mei is amazing.
Yeah.
Even when you show people the raw leaf of the Jinjin Mei, it's really hard to understand because it doesn't look like it should be like that.
Yeah.
For a tea.
Yeah. So all Wuyi black teas. Yeah, sweet, right? This is like the 7th steeping, I want to say.
Yeah. So if someone's never had a lapsang or a smoked lapsang souchong, am I saying it right or saying it?
Yeah, Lapsang Souchong.
Lapsang Souchong. So if any of the listeners haven't had a smoked Lapsang Souchong, how would you suggest this tea to someone who hasn't had a tea like this before?
So this one's very warming. I think like it's comforting and like it's both sweet and savory. So I think someone who likes a really like flavor forward tea, like this one will do milk. You know, like we're not gonna do that in a guy one obviously, but it will definitely take milk and hold its flavor as well. You could easily steep this Western style according to your predilections.
I could see it being really good with actually kind of a little milk and honey in there.
Yeah, but I think for people who are really interested also in tea culture and tea history, like this is great because it's like again a very classic style of tea. One of the first that was ever imported out of China.
Is there anything else people need to know about this tea? Because it's fascinating to me, and like once I tasted it, you almost taste the history. It's weird.
Yeah, so this tea and many others like it are available, of course, at tridentcafe.com/teas. Again, if really good tea if you're interested in, if you want something with a little more oomph, something to like help put a little fortitude into your system for the winter and the fall. This one's great.
And it's still steeping.
Still tastes like smoke. All right, everyone. Well, thanks for joining us once again. I'm your host, Jake, here with Josh. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you guys next time.
Enjoy the tea drinking.